ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् So this ninth chapter has 158 verses, a little bigger chapter. And as I told you, Vidyaranya discusses a unique subject matter, a unique topic. Because in Vedantic circle, in a mind of students, there is a unique problem also. To address that unique problem, he is discussing that topic. So what are the reasons for this particular problem in a Vedantic student? And what should be the solution for that, etc. For that purpose, he has devoted this chapter, 156 verses for that. And what is the unique problem? I told you just that a person studies. One has to study. A very systematic study for a length of time. For quite a length of time. One has to study. What? This text, Vedantic text, maybe Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, anything, or Bhagavad Gita, or any other Prakarana Grantha, where the subject matter is the self. The self is Brahman, the self is limitless, self is whole, self is fullness, etc. That is the subject matter. And then if you study that with the help of course, a teacher, then you will know that I am full or I am whole, etc. I am consciousness, limitless consciousness, one knows. So while the person listens to words of a teacher talks Shastra, so he imparts his self-knowledge, and accordingly, if no understanding takes place in your mind, then you remain blank. You feel, what is going on? I don't know. That's a one type of thing. That is not addressed here. But he is a Vedantic student and he understands the class. He understands. He says also that I am understanding what he is telling. Means if it is understanding in a student from the words of a teacher, then there is definitely a Jnana Vritti or not. It is. There is a Jnana Vritti. There is a cognition. And if there is a cognition, means Jnana Vritti is there. But after the class, if someone asks that if you have this cognition, Jnana Vritti is there, you understand that I am Sat, I am Chit, etc. Or I am limitless consciousness. Do you understand? Yeah, he said, I understand. The teacher said how the consciousness is limitless and I am consciousness which is limitless. That I understand. The whole class I understand. He says, initially may not, but in course of time, he understands. Okay, then you are Jnani. No. He says, I am not Jnani. If you have a Jnana Vritti, then you have a Jnanam. No. Even though the Jnana Vritti takes place while listening, in the class, understanding, if you have understanding of the self, yet you say that, well, I don't know the self, means you are still waiting for some special Jnanam. If you have a Jnana Vritti, understanding of the self, and yet you are expecting some kind of a special knowledge of the self in order to say that I am a Jnani, that is something unique problem. And this is the problem existing with most of the students. Most of the students. Yeah, I am right now in front of you talking about Brahman. Believe me, in my place, suppose if you are here, you will also talk. Maybe better also, perhaps. I am telling you. And you will talk. You will establish I am Satchidananda very beautifully. Then why are you not saying that I am Jnani? No. Still I am waiting for Brahma Jnana. As if, I think, even though there is a Jnana Vritti, he is waiting for some kind of an experience of Brahman. Some waiting for the experience of Brahman, experience of. Like experience of any other thing in the world. Same way experience of Brahman. If that happens, then I say I am Brahmajnani or I am Brahman, either. So understanding of Brahman as the self is there, yet he says I am not Brahman. It's a unique problem. It's a really unique problem. He understands Brahman, he understands Satyam, he understands Jnanam, he understands Anantam, everything he understands. Clear understanding. Still waiting for an experience. Object. As though in his mind there is a difference between an understanding and Jnanam or realization, experience. In his mind there is a difference. That is the problem. Why this problem he is going to address in this chapter. And also he is going to say, he is going to give some solution for that. Swamiji's solution is Nididhyasanam. You are going to talk. No. Nididhyasanam means it's a different issue. You know I am Brahman, but somehow you commit a mistake all the time that I am a body, etc. So to basically come out of that orientation of taking the body as the self, you do contemplation. That's a different thing. But here this person has understanding I am Brahman, etc., I am Satchidananda, etc. Yet he says, still I have not Jnanam, I have not a knowledge of Brahman, I have not realized Brahman, whatever, I have not experienced Brahman, then it is a different issue. It's a different issue. So that thing has been addressed here. And before going into that topic, well, I said, I was discussing the nature of Brahmajnanam. What is this Brahmajnanam? Or how to know Brahman as the self. How to know Brahman as the self. So that we discussed. And I mentioned, well, that basically the life is a series of experiences. And any experience is Brahman. Whether it is in a waking state, whether it is in a dream state, or in a deep sleep state. So, well, and therefore you will not, since any experience is ultimately Brahman, you will not have to wait for a special experience in which the object of experience is Brahman. You need not have to wait, because any experience is Brahman. part experience, part cognition is Brahman. Anything you see is Brahman. As a very seer, as the sight, and as the seen. All the three are Brahman. That's an experience, right? Experience of seeing. So the seer is there, that is Brahman. The seen object, Brahman. The sight which connects the seer and the seen is Brahman. And therefore, like that in hearing, etc. also, all this triad will be there. So to know that the seer, seen and the sight are Brahman, one does not require an experience now. But one does require a cognitive appreciation that, well, the seer is I, the consciousness, the seen is I, the consciousness, the very sight is consciousness, that is I. So I am the truth behind this experience of seeing. I am the truth behind the experience of hearing. I am the truth behind the experience of a taste. Therefore, I have not to wait for a special experience of Brahman, because every experience is Brahman. Means you don't require a special experience, but you definitely require a cognitive appreciation in which you understand that all the three right now, experience of seeing is taking place. I am seeing a Swami, I am a seer, and the sight is there. Well, all that is I, the consciousness. In the understanding, in the light of this understanding, you don't claim that I am seer. Seer is consumed in the consciousness. Once you say I am seer, the duality is there. Object of object and the seen is different from the seer. And when you take yourself as a seer, definitely you have identified with something which is called non-self. When you say I am a seer, definitely you are identified with the eyes. You are an individual. That's not the reality. Because the seen also is a consciousness, seer also is a consciousness, and the very sight is consciousness. Nothing is possible outside the consciousness. That everything is experienced in consciousness, everything exists in consciousness, and therefore your cognitive appreciation in any experience, well, is Brahman. That is, therefore you don't require any experience, basically contains this truth, and Shastra is revealing that. And to make you understand this, which I could not talk to you in a last class, but we can take a dream model, which is very good. You cannot appreciate what I said today or in the last class if you don't have an understanding of a dream experience. In an infrastructure of a certain information, also only you can gather more information and appreciate it. If you don't have any appreciation of understanding of a dream experience, you will not be able to appreciate what I have said. You will remain blank. So that's how, let's take the dream model, that is very apt for assimilating this fact which I talked to you. In dream, the dreamer is both the subject and the object. So, but what is experienced is the difference of subject from the objects. You find that difference, and that is real. You feel that is real. So there are desirable as well as undesirable objects, and there is also a response from you, which is everything is real. So that's how you give a response. Desirable, then you have one kind of a response. Undesirable object in a dream, then you have a different kind of a response. That shows, well, you take the dream subject and dream object, both are real and separate from each other. On waking, of course, while the dreamer discovers the dream subject was himself, the dream object was himself. Himself means, well, the invariable consciousness. We will take that way. Himself means what? It's invariable consciousness. The self, because of whom one says, I dreamt, I am awake now, I slept well, etc. etc. So that I, which is invariable consciousness, that is present in the dream, well, everything was that consciousness, invariable consciousness, present in all the experiences, present in dream experience also. That consciousness alone, as though, was subject and object, dream of subject and dream objects. So that in dream, well, other things also, the dream space is the same invariable consciousness. The dream time is this consciousness. The dream object is consciousness. The whole dream experience, the knower, known, and the knowledge is just one consciousness. And that has been mentioned as a Jyotihi, the light of consciousness in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, giving the example of the dream. In a Swayam Jyotir Brahmana, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, they gave this example of a dream and said that all the dream object, dream subject, the whole dream world, the whole dream experience, let us say, in which there is a dream subject and dream objects, the whole thing is just one thing, and that is one whole, no division at all, and that is this consciousness. Then there it is mentioned as a Jyotihi, because the whole dream world, the whole dream experience is illumining. Well, the dream subject is illumined, dream objects are illumined, everything is illumined, exists in that Jyoti, exists in that light of consciousness. So that is just Swayam Jyotir Brahmana. So, and in that, as I said you, in that section, the Upanishad deal with this dream, presents the knower, known, and knowledge as one Jyoti, one light of consciousness, which is Satyam, which cannot be negated, which remains. And this whole dream world resolves, dream experience resolves, while still this invariable consciousness remains in a other state called, let's say, waking state, or in a deep sleep state. So that is invariable, that cannot be negated. So that consciousness is Satyam. That's how it is. It ever is. It is ever present. So that is Satyam Brahma. So dream, dreamer, and the dreamt is nothing but one consciousness. And it is limitless. There is no limit. The dream space is consciousness. What is the limit of consciousness? No. Dream objects all are pervaded by this consciousness. Consciousness has no dimension. And in the same way, in a waking, in a deep sleep state also. So, this Satyam is nothing but this one consciousness. Now, the mind that projects the dream world, well, is endowed with some tremendous power. So, it can project and it can cover the fact that it is a projection. The whole dream is a projection by the mind. So, mind has that power to project. That's one thing. It can project and it can cover, well, the fact that it is a projection. In order to project, well, basically, it has to cover the reality, right? And without covering, it cannot project. So, like the rope is covered, and then the snake is projected. Same way, here also, so the mind has that power to project the whole dream world. Well, it has a power to cover what is the reality, ultimately, and then it is able to project. If the mind projects without covering, then we call it as imagination. And in imagination, also there is a lot of projection, but there is no cover, and that is how you are immediately able to say that it is an imagination. While you imagine, simultaneously you are able to appreciate it as imagination, unlike dream. So in a daytime also you certain things you imagine, but at the same time you know also it is imagination. Yeah. So there is no cover, that shows. So once it is covered and then projected, then the projected is taken as a real. So that is the thing happening in the dream. So, well, So this is I mean that is the power of the mind, the power of Ishvara actually. Well, really speaking, when in which Bhagavan has given us one a sample of a dream experience. Well, that what a creative power is. Ishvara also has this creative power with the help of this Maya, which we call creative power. So the whole waking world is projected in which the waker and the waking world are just one reality, one whole, one consciousness. So, and that is how we are able to appreciate, even in the waking world, even the waker, the waking world, the object, subject, etc. All this are just projection that we are able to appreciate it because we have this example of a dream. Yeah. Here it is a power of the mind, there it is a power of the Ishvara, we call Maya, etc. So, same thing is happening. So in the dream world, where but Swamiji, how do you say it is just one consciousness? Because even in a dream world, where does the consciousness end and the world begins? Dream world begins. You cannot. You cannot. You cannot divide it. Right? The consciousness ends and dream world begins. You cannot do that. And therefore, the whole world is consciousness. Dream world is consciousness. The object is consciousness. The subject is consciousness. All that is there is just one consciousness. The dream time is consciousness. Dream space is consciousness. The dream Swami you are seeing in the dream, suppose, is consciousness. The dreamer, the subject who is seeing it, who is seeing the Swami, is also consciousness. So this is just one consciousness. Because I am not able to divide the dream object, subject and the consciousness. No, you cannot divide. Therefore, it is just one whole consciousness. That's how we call it as a whole. The whole dream is the whole. That's how. So whatever is experience, we cannot divide means what, Swamiji? What do you want to convey? That whatever is projected is basically non-separate from the consciousness. That is how you are not able to separate, divide. Anything which is projected in the dream is never away from consciousness. It arises in consciousness, remains in consciousness, subsides in consciousness. And therefore, the consciousness is unaffected by this projection at all. Therefore, it is just one whole. So whatever is experienced basically at any time is the whole. Even in the waking world also it is the same. Now we are able to extend from this example. So, well, if one is looking at a certain microbes, suppose in a laboratory, through a microscope, well, the onlooker, the microbiologist, the onlooker and the microbes together form one whole. Means in one whole, both are projected, the waker, the subject and the waking world, waking object, microbes, etc. When one looks at a thought, right now, suppose, then the thought and the onlooker of the thought, well, both form just one whole consciousness. Similarly, when one sees, one hears, one smells, one tastes, one touches anything, well, the person and the object form the whole. This is called cognitive appreciation of you as a whole, Brahman. When you do this, the orientation for a special experience of Brahman as an object goes away. In any experience, you were not able to appreciate before you study Vedanta. You are in any experience, you are taking as a very subject, the experiencer, and the object of experience different from you. That's how the experience takes place. But really speaking, the truth of a whole experience is you, in which the subject, the experiencer, the object of experience, and the very experience, whole thing is you, the consciousness. So this is called a cognitive experience of any cognitive appreciation of any experience. So this is how one understands oneself as a limitless consciousness. In any experience, you are consciousness which is invariably present, very waking world experiences, dream experiences, or even no experience itself is an experience in a deep sleep state, etc. No experience of special objects, etc. Either waking and dream, both types of objects are absent. Still, I don't experience anything. That's the experience. Let's say that is also Brahman. So you are invariably, the consciousness invariably present, never available for negation. You are the very basis, the truth of all experiences. Yeah, so people should mute themselves. Yeah. So Shruti basically always distinguish the person from what he, she hears, sees, etc. and experience. So it says no, what is experience is not you, and therefore body is experience. You are, that is not you. The mind is experience. It is not you. The thought is experience. It is not you. The senses are experienced by you. You are able to say the states of a state of an experience, a state of an organ. Well, status of an organ, let us say. Well, that's not you, because you are able to talk about anything. You are able to talk about your pranas, etc. All this. Therefore, you are, that is not you. That is not you, etc. That is the beginning. But afterwards, well, basically, it is understood that all these are simply a projection, and you are the reality behind everything. And that self, the consciousness, is self-existent. They are dependently existent. They are existent in you, whereas you are self-existent, self-evident consciousness. And so one does not have to do anything special or wait for a special time, place, or experience to know Brahman. You will not have to wait for a special time, special place, or special experience to know Brahman. Enlightenment is not an event, it is not an happening. Really speaking, nothing happens. Nothing really happens. Whatever happens is mithya. The truth is you. Behind any happening, the truth is you. So whatever happens is mithya. This non-happening Brahman is I, the Satyam. A non-happening Brahman allows all happenings and does not resist any happening either. So this is how Brahman is in and through. You, the consciousness, in limitless consciousness, which is called Brahman in the Shastra, is in and through all experiences present. Therefore, Satyam Brahma, Anantam Brahma, and Brahman is consciousness, means Jnanam. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is myself. This is how Brahma Jnanam takes place. There is no other way. If you come across to know Brahman by different way what then I said, please let me know. Please let me know. There is no way other than this to know Brahman. In every experience, your analysis of every experience, your cognitive appreciation of the truth of experience is you. Other than that, if you come across any way of knowing Brahman, please let me know. So, it is present in and through every experiences. It is known, I used the word cognition. You can use a cognition also. It is known through every cognition. And that one more thing I would like to add in this is, I have not used word mithya, etc. Well, to cover up, because Brahman is Satyam and every other thing is mithya, I will take one more point. So then in Shastra, what happens is basically Brahman is introduced through a, this cause-effect methodology. Everywhere you will find that way. So the cause is Brahman and the effect is this Jagat, includes body, mind, sense complex. So cause is revealed to be both as the nimittam, the efficient, and the material cause also. So basically the Brahman, the consciousness, is not an inert material as the cause of this inert world. Brahman, the conscious being, basically is presented as as the very nimitta, as the very material cause of the whole creation. So definitely Brahman, without undergoing any modification, because it's a consciousness, without undergoing any modification, appears as Jagat, because Jagat is inert. If Jagat is inert and the Brahman is a cause, material cause of the Jagat, then Brahman being consciousness, the Jagat also should be conscious. But that's not so. If Jagat is inert and the cause, the material cause is Brahman, consciousness, conscious being, you can say, then definitely this is simply a projection or appearances of Brahman. Brahman has not modified. A conscious being cannot modify it into inert world. Conscious being can suppose modify, then it modifies into some conscious beings, others, etc. All the things, whatever they have come out of that conscious being must be conscious. But the inert world comes out of the Brahman, material cause, then definitely it is Brahman without undergoing any modification appears as the Jagat, and therefore Jagat is Mithya. So Mithya is a word definitely covering one's understanding of the reality of an object. There is no object called Mithya actually. Certain things exist only in our understanding. Like, they give you an example, I remember. They give you example of a beauty. Puja Swamiji also was giving example. Beauty, for example, does not exist anywhere else except in one's understanding, in one's appreciation. So same way, here also, Mithya is a word covering one's understanding about the world, covering the understanding of a reality of this world, etc. So the effect, of course, is Mithya. And if that is so, Brahman, the cause, loses the status, the causal status. Brahman is a cause, but the effect is Mithya, but that is effect, the world is Mithya. Then definitely Brahman as a cause, the causal status of Brahman also is Mithya. Brahman is not a cause, not an effect. It is free from this both. Anyway, so Brahman assumes this, the causal status known as Ishvaratvam, we know very well, and everything that is presented, that is created, is presented as in the model of 5 elements, etc., gross and subtle. That's the model we have in a Upanishad. And so the Mithya Jagat, consisting of these 5 elements and elementals, also includes this one's body, mind, sense complex. So, if there is another model, is a model of a minerals, let's say, mineral model. All calcium, carbon and all these things are there. That's another model. Either you take a elemental model. Person is not aware, I think. Let me mute. So, this is a very serious discussion. People are not. Anyway. So, either elemental model, either this mineral model, whatever model. I think the science has a mineral model. That's how we have a periodic table, where everything is just 108 elements or 110 elements are there in this creation. A mineral model, whatever it is. Ultimately, the appreciation is this, that whatever has come out of this Brahman is Mithya, including one's body, mind, sense complex. So either you say in terms of mineral, then you say, this is calcium, I am not it. I am not carbon, I am not this, or I am not this Akasha, I am not this Vayu, etc., etc. So basically, this is the way the understanding between you, the Brahman, and understanding of a relationship between you, which is the cause of the entire world, takes place as a Satyamithya relationship. So this body also is a part of Jagat. So if that is understood, then it is easy to relate to this body, that body is Mithya, etc. What makes this body alive is a subtle body. That is also, which is appropriate to the given physical body. This is also Mithya. And to understand Mithyatvam, one very good clue is that whatever you see here in this creation is a combination of things, actually. So, Just one more reason to call it mithya. Because in any combination, no one thing is a thing, actually. Like I will give you example. In a combination, many things are there, right? Which give rise to one thing. Let us say a flower. So the word flower actually has no real substance called flower. Therefore, it is mithya. How? Like you say a flower, Swamiji, is a combination. Good. Flower is a combination of what? Petals. Now a single petal is not the flower because it's a petal, it's not flower. The stem is not the flower. Stem is stem. Stem is not flower. The stamen also is not the flower. It is just a stamen. Pollen is not a flower. Leaf is not a flower. Suppose a leaf is also is there. So, but all put together, we call it flower. So, for the word flower, the meaning, the object, really if it is there, then well, we'll say it is Satyam. But for the word flower, there is no real substance, real thing called flower. And in order to see what is the flower, let me see. Then if you make the parts, etc., you find a stem, you find pollen, you find maybe a petal, all these things are there. So stem is a stem. You will not call it as a flower. You use the word stem. Oh, this is a stem. This is pollen. This is stamen, etc. So this is how the thing is. So in any combination, no one thing is a thing. Could you follow? And that is how, well, for the word flower, there is no really object. Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam. For the word flower, which you use, there is no corresponding object existing. Because everything is ultimately combination. Combination of many things, and those many things has their names, stem, pollen, etc., stamen, everything. For the word flower, there is no flower. That's how it is. When you combine together all this, you say it is flower. This is how the thing is. Anyway, so same thing, well, definitely this gross body, the subtle body, etc., also is a combination. It's an aggregate. In fact, subtle body is an aggregate of elements. Subtle body is not a body. Subtle body means we feel that there is some kind of a shape, it has some shape, etc. No, it's just an aggregate of 17 components, again made up of 5 elements, subtle elements, etc. And the gross body also is a combination of elements, etc. And so any given element is not the body. Like any given element called stem is not the flower. Stem is a stem. Even if you say I will say it is a flower. Suppose a petal, suppose is lying on the table, and I say this is flower. You say no, Swamiji, it is just a petal. So you are not ready. Seeing the petal, you are not ready to call it as a flower. But then petals together, etc., well, you call it as a flower. So for flower, there is no real object. What I mean is this. So this is one more reason to understand. You may be knowing this also, but just I am giving one more reason for something in this world to call it as a mithya, because in a world everything is ultimately a combination of elements or etc. or minerals, whatever you want to say. So this is how definitely this is so in one's body, mind, sense complex, and the entire world is mithya, and definitely the Shastra presents the Brahman as, which is the intelligent and material cause of everything, that is Satyam. Everything else, well, being in effect non-separate from its cause, everything has its being in Brahman. Brahman is the only being. Nothing has the being, nothing has its own existence. That way it is mithya. Brahman is self-existent. So all the effects are mithya, body is mithya, the senses are mithya, the mind is mithya, in the form of thoughts, etc. is mithya. So, and wherever there is mithya, of course, the Satyam is present there, because there is no mithya without Satyam. And wherever there is mithya, that has to be Satyam. So table is Satyam or mithya. Well, table is not Satyam, wood is Satyam, etc. So where you say something is mithya, there the Satyam is lying. So when we say body is mithya, there itself, well, the Atma, the Brahman is present in form of a Satchidananda, etc. So mind, thought, Anything you can take, even a pranas, even the senses and organs of action everywhere. So Satyam is also in only in our understanding. Mithya is also in our understanding. Understanding of a reality. Mithya is an understanding of a reality of the world. Satyam is a understanding of the reality of oneself. So basically, so any object where you cognize, well, is mithya, and the very cognizer, etc. The experiencer also is mithya. The reality behind both, which is non-separate, and this from which the knower and known, the experiencer and object of experience, is non-separate. That is consciousness, which is satya. And in a cognition, of course, of any object implies a vritti, a thought. That vritti also, we say mithya, so satyam is very much lying there. The vritti of any object, etc., also is illumined, existing consciousness. That's how consciousness pervades all the cognitions, all experiences. Therefore, you need not have a special vritti, special cognition, special experience of Brahman. All experiences are Brahman. The truth of all the experiences, each experience is Brahman. So this is how one should understand Brahman. So anyway, now we'll go to our text. So this is how one should know Brahman. So, and that consciousness is invariable and it is limitless. Consciousness is invariable means it is Sat, and it is limitless means it is fullness. It is Anantam or Ananda, etc. So, and this, this clear understanding does take place in a person after certain listening exposure to the teaching, and it is also in form of a vritti. So any understanding is a process, of course, of a mind. Jnana prakriya, we say, process of knowledge, and mind has definitely a modification in form of different thoughts. So even error also is a vritti. Emotions are a vritti, perceptions are a vritti. So basically, and that's how understanding takes place. So understanding is a jnana vritti. So every sincere student, well, definitely takes the jnana vritti gain the jnana vritti by proper study. Still, some students, even though this kind of a jnana vritti takes place in a class of Vedanta, when teacher is describing about Sat, teacher is describing about the consciousness, and that is the truth, that is Satyam, and that is Anantam, limitless, etc. And accordingly, jnana vritti is happening. But some students, well, they don't want to claim that I am this Jnani, or I am Satchidananda, I am Jnani of this Brahman, etc. But they don't want to claim. They have understanding, but they say also I have but they don't want to claim that I have a Jnanam, I am Jnani, or I am Brahman, you can say, I am free. No, they don't want to claim. Because they feel that even though the understanding of Brahman is there, yet, I'm bound. Still, the experience of Brahman as a free self has to happen. That is, that kind of a obstacle they have. They are not willing to accept. They have an understanding. Understanding requires a jnana vritti, means a jnanam is happening in the mind in form of a cognition. I told you, it's a cognitive appreciation that yes, this seer is I, the consciousness. The seen is also I, the consciousness. The very sight is I, the consciousness. Therefore, I am the truth behind this experience of seeing. And like that are all other experiences. Well, they are able to see that. When the teacher is telling, they are able to see also. Yet, after the class is over, if I tell you that, well, then why don't you claim that you are limitless consciousness, which is invariably present in all experiences? Well, means you are Brahman, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Now, why don't you claim? They say no. So, understanding happened, yet they don't want to claim that there is a Jnanam. I'm a knower of Brahman. No, they don't want to claim. Means the Jnanam is something different from this understanding which is happening in the class. That kind of a obstacle they have. Understanding happens through Jnanavritti only. Therefore they have Jnanam. But no. They wait for some special type of a knowledge, special experience of Brahman, experience of a free self kind of a thing. Well, it is. So this is a obstacle. Jnanam is something else, understanding is something else. They feel like that. So, and then definitely to how to address what is the obstacle, etc., what is to be done, etc., Vidyaranya is going to deal with in this chapter in 156 verses. So Vidyaranya says, of course, I'm just giving a gist of it, that Vidyaranya says in this chapter that only method he can prescribe is continue to dwell on your understanding repeatedly. What understanding which is born in the class, that understanding is born that yes, I am consciousness, limitless consciousness. I am invariably present, not available for negation. What is variable means negated. What is invariably present in all the experiences, all cognitions, that is the consciousness. Therefore, I am Satyam, I am Jnanam, consciousness, and I am limitless consciousness. I am not confined to anything. I am because the very seer is in consciousness. The seen, anything which is in space also is in consciousness, etc. Everything is in consciousness. Therefore, consciousness, I has no limit. Anantam. That understanding is there. Well, Vidyaranya says, I prescribe that you continue to dwell on this understanding itself repeatedly. Even though for you it is not a Jnana Vritti, because you say, if you say it is a Jnana Vritti, means you have a Jnana. But no. For you, if it is, you say it is not a Jnana Vritti, may you repeat that Jnana Vritti again and again. What is that vritti? Well, that seeming vritti for you, Jnana Vritti, you do avritti. So that is called upasanam. What is that upasanam? I am Satchidananda. I am Satchidananda. This is different. Please understand. This is different from Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam is basically because to make yourself free from the orientation that I am body, mind, sense complex. Well, you dwell upon the teaching. You need not have to repeat. You dwell upon the teaching in general. Whereas here, Jnana Vritti is happening. It is happening in the class, but still he is waiting for the Jnanam, Brahma Jnanam. Such people have a different type of an obstacle. So for them, this is a repetition of that Jnana Vritti. For him, it is not a Jnana Vritti. We know it is a Jnana Vritti. He is not ready to accept it as a Jnana Vritti. Why he is not accept? How do you say he is not accepting as a Jnana Vritti? Because if it is a Jnana Vritti, it is a Jnanam. Like Gata Jnana Vritti is there, then you will say, I know the part. You will not have any difficulty. But even though such a Jnana Vritti is happening, he is able to see in the class that I am Satchidananda, etc. Still, he doesn't take those vrittis as a Jnana Vritti. Then you repeat this Jnana Vrittis after the class is over. At your time, whenever you have a time. So Jnana Vritti, Avritti. Aham Brahmasmi Avritti, you can say. And that Avritti means it is a upasana, repetition. So it is a repetition of a Jnana Vritti, Avritti. But if that Jnana Vritti, whatever happens in the class, it is a Jnana Vritti. But due to orientation, I am taking the body, mind, sense complex. Well, then you do Nididhyasanam. But suppose whatever is happening in the class, and it is a Jnana Vritti, but you are not ready to accept it is a Jnana Vritti, still waiting for the knowledge of the Brahman, well, then it is a different. Then you have to simply do Upasana, Avritti. I hope you are able to follow. The person understands that I am Brahman. Whatever happens in the class, he said it is a jnanam. But due to orientation, I take myself as a body, etc. To make myself free from this orientation, I will do contemplation. That's one thing. But this person, well, he also has this understanding in the class. Jnanavritti only is there, but he is not ready to accept as a Jnanavritti. He says, I don't have a knowledge of Brahman. He says that. Brahmajnanam has not taken place. He says that. Well, then we say, you do upasana. Why upasana? To get rid of an obstacle. This is a different type of obstacle compared to that Dehatma Buddhi. Well, this is a different. That person says, yes, that I have a jnana, that I am Brahman. But, well, orientation for the body, etc. is there, to take it as a self is there. Well, then I should do contemplation. Same teaching I will repeat. This person says, I don't have a jnanam at all. Even though he also understands this. I am Satyam Jnanam Anantam. But he says, well, even this understanding, he says, no, that is not jnanam. Brahmajnanam is different. Well, then there is not a question of a contemplation here. It's a different type of an obstacle. And that to get rid of it, well, one has to do upasana. What is the upasana? What is the mantra? Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. And he is going to give all nuances of this. So difference between Nidyasanam and Upasanam is, well, both are Jnana Vrittis taking place in two students, but one says, yes, I have a Jnana. I have a Jnanam, I am Brahman. But orientation is there. Habitual error is there. Well, to get rid of it, I will do Nidyasanam. Other person also has heard, and he is equally capable. He also has understanding that I am Brahman, etc. But he says, this is not Jnanam. He doesn't say, I have a Brahma Jnana. And there is a question of an orientation of taking body as a self. No. He says, I don't have Jnanam. He has understood Brahman as the self. But still, then this is a different issue. There is a different type of an obstacle. The habitual error also is an obstacle to get rid of contemplation. But this is a different type of an obstacle. And that obstacle will be taken care of by generating adrishta. Obstacle has been taken care of by adrishta. Adrishta has been generated through upasana. That's how it is. So, Aham Brahmasmi Upasana. You must have heard of, in a Vedantic circle, many acharyas talk about Aham Brahmasmi Upasana. Very elaborate topic is there in a Nishkarma Siddhi, where Acharya Sureshwaracharya ji addresses these people who are committed to this upasana. And they say this if you do this upasana, you have an understanding everything, but you are not ready to accept this, that it is a Brahmajnanam, then do this upasana, and upasana itself will give you moksha. So therefore, what you hear, Shravanam, etc., does not give you knowledge. This upasana ultimately leads to Brahmajnanam and moksha. And that is a Purvapaksha actually, by Sureshwaracharya ji. But anyway, here this issue has been addressed, that there are people, so, well, who have this a different type of an obstacle. Both have a Jnanavritti. One accepts that it is a Jnanam. I have a Jnanam. Other also has a Jnanavritti, but he doesn't accept it that I have a Jnanam. Then, well, it's a different type of an obstacle. I hope you have understood what I want to say. So, Vritti Avritti, that Jnanavritti which happened in the class, that Vritti Avritti. Ultimately, teacher told that you are Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma or you are Satchidananda. Well, that Vritti Avritti, repetition of that Vritti has to be there. Aham Brahmasmi, Upasana has to be done. When you do that, that Upasana can definitely remove the Adrishta obstacle in form of some Papa Prarabdha. Some Pratibandha is there. Otherwise, why should you not accept that, yes, I have a Jnanam? If I say, how do you Satchidananda, you are able to describe. Not me. You will tell. Swamiji, Satchidananda Sat means this invariable thing. And jnanam, that is consciousness. Yes, I am invariably present. What is the experience without I? What is the experience in any state of experience called waking, dream, and deep sleep without I? Please tell me, what is the experience without I? I is invariably present. Well, therefore, I am the truth of any experience. Easily, you will be able to tell me more than what I am saying you right now. Because you have jnanam that, well, you are invariable consciousness, limitless consciousness, which is independent of any experience, independent of the waker, independent of the dreamer, independent of the deep sleeper. They are all individuals. I am not an individual. You are able to appreciate it. Innate, after the class is over, well, I say, you are invariable consciousness. Say that. No. You are waiting for something. This is papa prarabdha. And this papam has been taken care of by upasana. What upasana mantra? Aham brahmasmi, aham satchidanandosmi, etc., etc. Whatever is there, whatever you have heard in the class. That. So, no other jnanam, of course, is required at all. This understanding alone is, of course, jnanam, we know. But because of pratibindha, you are not able to accept it as a jnanam. Now, if you do this upasana, this pratibindha will go. And the same vritti which was happening in the class, now you are accepting as a jnana vritti, and you will say, yes, I have a jnanam. But still, my orientation is for the body. Okay, do nididhyasanam now. Yeah. First do upasana, by which at least you are able to accept that I have a jnanam, that I am Brahman, I am Satchidananda. But yes, there is an orientation because of, from beginningless time, I have taken the body as the self in every janma, and therefore, well, I have to get rid of this orientation, this habitual error. It's a habit, but it is an error actually, naturally. I am body is an error. That's not an understanding, proper understanding. To get rid of it, well, now I will do nididhyasana. That's a different thing. But first, to accept that I have a jnanam, suppose if you are not ready, do upasana. Aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi. Many people are doing. Many people are doing like soham. People are doing that. Soham, soham. It's a hamsa mantra. They call hamsa mantra. Soham, soham, soham. Better is this, aham brahmasmi. Because our teaching is not soham. Our teaching is, you are Brahman, you are Satchidananda, you are Satyajnanamantam Brahma. So say, I am Satyajnanamantam Brahma. Because the understanding is happened already in your mind, the vritti has happened, Jnana vritti has already happened. Repeat that Jnana vritti. I hope I am making sense, because in 2 classes, what is Brahma Jnanam I discussed first, how it is not an object of knowledge, anytime, in fact, any experience, that is how a beautiful, in Drigdashya Viveka, in one verse, very beautifully said, Yatra yatra manoyati, tatra tatra samadhaya. Wherever the mind goes, wherever it goes, only your cognitive appreciation, wherever it goes, in that the cognitive appreciation is, I am the truth of that. That's it. You don't need any special experience, no special happening, nothing. In fact, you don't need to sit. Believe me, you don't need to sit in a given posture also. And while in doing this itself, ultimately you gain the clarity. Well, I am the truth behind all experiences, all cognitions, etc. I am not a seer or hearer, etc. All this, I'm the seer, hearer, talker, walker, everything is absorbed in I, the consciousness. And so, then that is called Sahaja Samadhi. Sahaja Samadhi means effortlessly now you are able to say, I am Brahman, I am the truth behind everything. That's called Sahaja Samadhi. Anyway, so this upasana gets converted to nididhyasanam later, and it will reinforce that I am ever free consciousness. No more moksha as a destination, because you are already free. If you are already free, you don't have a destination of becoming free. The freedom is your nature. That's how it is. So to convey this idea, Shastra gives example also. In Sankshepa Sarirakam it is there. In Vicharasagara it is there, at several places is that. In Vicharasagara, it's that story, that example is very elaborately discussed. Very beautiful. That story I will tell you in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.